Hey, good evening. I am already in my pajamas, getting ready for bed. I got my nightcap. Yes, I do wear a nightcap. It just makes everything so much easier, and it keeps my hair in place. Anyway, so I'm just gonna sit right here while I make this video because I had some intuitive messages that just recently came through my mind. Since I made my first video, I jumped in the shower and changed to my pajamas. So I'm just gonna kind of relax in here. I have my night light on. I want things kind of calm, kind of mellow as I talk in this. Since it's nighttime, I just really want to get this peaceful, relaxing type, feeling coming over me. So I was, sitting here on my bed, and I was kind of rearranging some notes that I was creating, and a flash came through my mind about, I had just mentioned that my son lost his job, and it's funny because, and the thing is that me and my son are, of course, I'm his mom, and that's my son. And the problem with it is that I no longer trust anybody. Okay, anybody. Okay, and the sad part is like I said, I got sucked into this Mormon wormhole, which I'm going to say not just Mormon, I'm going to say slash Nazis, because I do believe that Rex Laverne was quite familiar with a lot of other businesses in this community. And I'm not, saying this because I'm trying to create problems. I'm just basically saying this because I don't have anyone to discuss this with, okay? Obviously have a grown son that, probably got involved in this because of Rex Laverne, who he is, and this whole issue of hush hush. So my son's not going to ever talk to me about it. And I prefer it to be that way. This way, he keeps his word for whatever. He keeps his integrity. I just want to move on from it, okay? But I will say that these people have created nothing but problems, okay, in my life, unnecessarily. And because of their unprofessionalism, do I believe that my son lost his job for frivolous reasons or some way, in an indirect way of trying to take a jab at me? Yes, I do, okay? And the reason why is because I do believe there must have been some sort of Rex Laverne connection between perhaps my son's employer as well as Rex Laverne. Now, the reason that came through my mind, and I'm not going to say the name of my son's company, and here's the thing. I remember having a conversation with Justin Hayward one time about him asking me what did my son do for a living. A lot of people ask me what I do for a living. My view about work life in general has completely changed, and I refuse to be defined about on what I do for a living. Okay, because and so I really don't. I cannot remember the name of the company that my son works for at the top of my head. Okay, and the reason why is because I've told myself I do not want that to matter. They have made work life so miserable that I don't even really want to think about that. All I care about is my son being in a work environment where he can do his work. He feels like it's somewhat enjoyable. He completes his day and he comes home. Okay? It should not be any more than that. And I don't know his work routine or anything else. But I do know that I was under Nazi attack by Rex Laverne and people of his mindset. Like I said before, I even really knew anything about this. Okay? But I do believe that my son may have been let go from his employer because the employer did not like the things that I buy or the things that I choose to buy. And really, it is none of that. That is not the employer's business. It is none of their business what I choose to buy with my money or not with my money or whatever. That is nobody's business. Aside from that, my son is over the age of 18. Now, I don't know if these things are orchestrated, but sometimes I do believe it because I think it's because I'm a single woman and these Mormons wanted to force people into marriages, right? Force people into marriages. And, even though me and my son are related, okay, marriage is against the law. I do believe in California it's against the law to get married, okay? But this is the mentality of certain people, and they could have very well arranged this to where they want, a person to be in my house at all times. Now, I will say this: this is so selfish on their part. Everything about Mormons and their mentality, and Nazis as well, is very narcissistic. Okay, like I said, my son is over the age of 18. All right, my son has the right to go find a wife if that's what he chooses to do, or have his own apartment, hang out and start to date people and choose to be married or live with somebody or whatever he chooses to do. Okay, by the time he's 18, he has the right to make those decisions. Okay, so I appreciate him, helping his mom out, and I really do appreciate that. That's very kind of him. But do I also think that in some ways they kind of manipulated that situation? Yes, I do, and it was wrong of them. Okay, and if it's because they don't like the fact that I buy certain things, let me ask you something. Why don't you? And I do believe that this particular company he was working for is not necessarily a Mormon thing. It's more of an issue of white supremacy. This is what I believe. Okay, and or at least the messages are coming to me. You know what? I just want to move on. Is what I want to do. Okay, and it's very difficult. I'm not trying to take jabs at anybody at this point, but I do talk about things that need to be regurgitated, things that I've experienced that I find very traumatizing, and I do find it traumatizing every day for me. It's basically traumatizing. I do not like to deal with the slightest change. I do not like to communicate with people. Okay, like I said, to me, because these people may have dual affiliations, like, maybe somebody at the bank has dual affiliations. They are disclosing information that they have no right to know. Okay, you have no right to know anything about me at all. But I did get the feeling one time this was like when I was working over at Rex Laverne's place. I went at one night to pick up some, I got some weed, right, which is legal, right? So I picked up some weed, and before I actually made the purchase, the guy behind the counter said, "Oh, I can't sell it to you," but something made me feel as though I'm being watched. People are monitoring what I pay for, what I buy, okay? You know what? If some people buy alcohol to kind of ease the pain, and I understand. Some Mormons they don't drink alcohol, they don't smoke weed, they don't even have caffeine. That's their choice, okay? And once again, we have people who are trying to enforce their rules on other people. Now, like I said, that Houston is not responsible for what his grown mother does. Okay, but it's like it's always political. It's always some sort of genocide, aim, angle, purpose. Reason why they want to terminate people, and and they're not ever going to explain why. They might with him. I don't know. Okay, because apparently I do suspect that everyone was in on them bullying up on me. I do believe that, including this is how ruthless and immoral these people are. And then I do believe they included my son in on this sort of information. Why? Because it was, number one, they did not want people to know that I was the chosen one. They didn't want, it was an issue of not white supremacy because white people felt threatened by who I was, okay? And so this is my feeling, okay? I do not trust anybody at all. Okay, like literally, I do not trust a single person. Okay, I just feel as though people are so immoral, and anything that happens to at this point in my life, I'm always going to attribute it to what happened, and I'm always going to. First thing that's going to happen is my mind's going to be directed towards Mormons, and the Nazi people. Okay, and I do believe it was kind of. I mean, in this case, I do believe the white supremacy issue got out of hand. And the reason why is because I know that Rex Laverne most likely compared me against other people. Like, for example, the girl that was she didn't work in the office with me, but she worked, like, I guess at a different location. She may have worked from home. I don't remember. But, she was obviously of a different race, and he wants to see, what does this person do, and how does she compare to this person? It's like their little experiment, okay? I have bills to pay. I have a life to live. I have things to do. I do not have time for your stupid shit. Okay? This is the reason why I was angry and disturbed by this sort of mentality that Rex Laverne had, and then anybody who's under that umbrella. You know what I mean? I have the right to buy whatever. I don't really buy a whole lot. Here, the only thing I buy is groceries, and I do think that they had some sort of resentment because I don't believe in eating certain foods. Okay, like I think I eat a lot of apples and stuff like that, and I eat that, you know why? Because of my health. I do not sit here and rely on, what do you call it? I don't rely on pharmaceuticals. I don't believe in pharmaceuticals. I don't believe them. I will not touch them. Okay, so I try to eat as decent as I possibly can. You know what I mean? On the little budget that I do have, okay? So that's my choice. Okay, but they seem to be nosy about that. How dare you sit here and try to be nosy and tell me how to spend my money to pay for my food? That's my choice. Okay, I don't believe in people eating things like McDonald's and stuff like that or whatever. You know, just recently my son brought in some canned goods from the Mormons. My son could eat that. I will not eat it. I noticed on the back of the can, donated from the Church of fuck these people. I won't touch anything that you give me. You know why? Because you're demonic. That's my feeling about you. And I do believe that I'm right. I have every reason to feel sick and disgusted by everything that you do. I want nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you. So I'm glad that my son had this. And when he brought them in, I kept thinking, I bet you anything they're planning on laying him off or something like that. That's the first thing that came to my mind. I do not trust these people. They are evil. Period. And if they were trying to be nice while they were doing it, that's nice, okay? But I will always suspect something wrong. And the reason why, I suspected something was going on, and lo and behold, I was right. So that day, or the next day, I came downstairs. My son was home early, and he's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm not working there anymore. End of discussion. Okay? And I know he's not going to go into it any further than that. But see, I am always on some sort of roller coaster. These people have always made me feel threatened. They always do everything they can to make me feel threatened. I have never once felt at home, at peace, calm, having anything to do with these people at all. And if, their groceries in my cabinet make me sick to my stomach. That's the damn truth. You know why? Because all these people have ever done has caused me problems. Do you think I want reminders of them? I do not. Okay, this is all these people have ever done. They're demonic and they're just like sadistic. Okay, I do not feel any kind of comfort around Mormons at all. Period. So let me see if there's any other messages that I want to talk about. I do get the message that I'm free. This is the last of any sort of Mormon contact that I'm ever going to have. I don't believe that I'm associated with them. I also get the message that there's a lot of people who are focusing on life in heaven instead of this whole idea of thinking that, let's try to rebuild the new earth or the new whatever. You know what? Here's some people. There are a lot of people who have dedicated their life to having kids. Okay, like for example. Okay, and I'm not a part of this movement, but I do know there's a lot of people who have joined religions or have merged forces with the Mormons, right, in hopes that they're going to have offspring to live on the new earth, okay? So I'm at least being considerate towards that, okay? I understand some people want... So, and I'm actually seriously thinking about this, okay? How would this look? How would this be achieved, okay? But like I said, you know what? There's a certain thing that continually creeps up in people. It is the desire to have more and more and more and more. And there's times where I sit here and think about the idea of new earth, okay? Okay, so they wipe everybody clean. Just like in the day of Noah, like after they clean, then they started all over again. Things build up and people went back to their evil selves. The same thing. So how do you prevent that from happening? You know what I mean? How do you satisfy every need? And this is one of the reasons why the Jehovah's Witnesses were like, okay, well, the new earth, or that they call the new earth. The new system, that's what they call it. The new system, it's going to be, you don't have to pay for anything, it's all free. And I kept thinking, okay, how would this work? How would this work? Does people get their own allotment of land? This obviously has to be distributed. I mean, it's supposed to be like this one world where everybody's just like all interconnected. Whatever, okay? But how do you prevent evil from creeping into man? You know what I mean? And I often think a lot about like how they talk about things like transhumanism, cyborgs, this sort of crazy stuff, right? Where people have to be somehow modified to take off their human behavior. You know what I mean? To wipe away who people really are. So you're basically just a robot. Just like, how they're talking about bringing robots into the New World Order because, it's like... only a select group of people would be fit to live on this earth, okay? And it seems very, very depressing when you think about it, right? Yeah, it seems very, very depressing. The whole thing is like, I'm thinking about morals and how people behave and how they should respect each other's space and their living. And unfortunately, a lot of businesses that are involved with this Mormon connection or the Nazi connection, this is not about, me, an exchange of services. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, it's not about just an exchange of services. I want to go to work. I want to do my job, and I want to go home. I don't want drama. I don't want people spying at me at Trader Joe's. Or they say, "Oh, I don't like the fact that she likes apples. She should be happy with canned goods." Fuck you. Okay? That shit causes nothing more than disease, okay? And that's just the way it is. All right? And I honestly think that these people do this sort of stuff on purpose. I don't want your fucking charity. Do you understand me? All right? It's like it's always to me, everything that you do is nothing to me but negative. Okay? I'm tired of having to interact with these people. I want nothing to do with Mormons at all. Now, obviously, the cans are put in my thing, and I'm like, okay, that's fine, whatever, just whatever. Okay, but I will not eat them. I will not eat them. Okay? My son, he's here, so he can eat them. I don't want him. I don't want to eat anything that you bring. I don't want nothing from you. Okay, you have caused me nothing but problems, and this is how I feel. Okay, the situation that I'm in here, and how you like to threaten people's lives. Oh, if your mom buys this, then you're just out of a job. My son's not responsible for me, legally or anything. You know what I mean? In your little imaginary world, it's like, I just get so tired of these people. You know what I mean? I'm so very tired, and I had to come on here and say this. Is there something else I want to say? I did mention about the Mormon dual responsible. They're responsible for the dual affiliations. There's certain times where, like, I might deal with something like a customer service issue or anything that goes on to me that's just slightly off. The first thing that I'm thinking is there a Mormon in this group that's sitting here creating these problems? It could be a Mormon on the other end of the phone from PG&E. Let me tell you something. I did not create this war. Okay? So whatever issue you have, you only have yourself to blame. You only have your Mormon leaders to blame. You only have Rex Laverne to blame. The only thing with me is I realized what was going on and I had the right to speak out. Okay? I don't have anything to be ashamed of. If by mere chance, and I'm not saying that this is the case, but if my son lost his job because of this crooked person, right? He was basically still trying to keep up an argument that he created or he was a part of. I don't have anything to do with that. Just like, there are certain people who are protesting their businesses that are related about the DEI thing, okay? They are protesting. I didn't initiate the protest. I read about it and I put two and two together. Oh, this issue spread. This is becoming a big thing. This is a part of a Mormon orchestrated thing with a collaboration of different churches and everything else. Okay, I did not initiate that. I had nothing to do with that. Okay, but I do acknowledge the fact that a lot of people are, protesting in their own way. They're protesting with their money. Meaning, okay, these people are crooked and we don't like what they did. I understand that they have the right to make that choice. Okay, but I am not responsible for this. I am not responsible for any of it. The only thing I am responsible for is me talking about my problems, which the thing is, because these people were set to hate me in the first place, they hate the fact that I'm sitting here talking about it. I have the right to talk about it. I have the right to heal from what you caused. I have the right to talk about this problem and feel some sense of security because you know what? You demonic people put it into everybody's head that I'm not supposed to have any sort of closure. Okay? This is the kind of damage that you cause. You are nothing but damage. Okay? And I don't give a fuck about if my son's employer did what he did, right? For the reasons that he did, I hope you end up just like Rex Laverne. That is my true feeling. Okay, I don't deserve to be played with. Okay, I've been nothing but upright the entire time, and the reason why I'm upset and going off right now is because every single thing. The reflection is coming off my glasses. Every single thing, okay, that goes wrong in my life, I always immediately attribute it to the Mormon Church, along with this Nazi bullshit. Along with the Nazi bullshit, you know what I mean? And it's like, the financial situations that I deal with is not my fault. Okay, the fact that I have no car is not my fault. It is cleverly designed to be this way, to take away things that belong to me that I have right. I have a right to have employment. I have the right to have my own business. I have the right to do anything I want to. You have stagnated me. You have stifled me. You have literally been blocking me and creating all kinds of obstacles for me, and it's your fault. I deserve millions for the shit that these people have caused. Legally, okay? But guess what? We have lawyers in this community that can be bought and sold. You know why? Because they're immoral. I kid you not. Okay? So I'm doing what I can do. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video. I will be back with another video sometime later. I just had to say that.